Hello everybody, I don't know if you can hear me, very windy. We are in Saltcoats. We've just been for lunch, complete surprise, we're on our way to Largs. We've travelled up this morning, we left at 4 a.m, it's about 2:30 now. So we've just stopped in Saltcoats for lunch. As I say, I'll show you the cafe. It was brilliant, really brilliant, packed solid. From the outside, you probably wouldn't think, if you're anything like me, you'd look at it and think, yeah, that's not going to be great. It was lovely. The food was amazing. We had fajitas, absolutely brilliant. The service was fantastic. Really great cafe. And now we're going to go for a walk. I thought all of this was Ardrossan, and Saltcoats and Ardrossan are quite different. So we're going to take a walk into Ardrossan because we're parked up here and it's free. We've just walked all the way to the end of this. We didn't realise there is a thing, it says on Google Maps, hole in the wall. And I just saw a door and thought, is that the hole in the wall? And sure enough, it's the hole in the wall. So this, I'll show you the other side from the car park. This is the hole in the wall, which literally takes you through the wall. But as I say, we're going to go for a walk along to Ardrossan now, just to see what's there. And then we will make our way to Largs. We're staying in Largs for one night before we catch the ferry in the morning over to Bute. So we did walk to Ardrossan, but you will notice there is a complete lack of Ardrossan in this video. And the two places are really just one, but they've both got very different characters, and we just preferred Saltcoats. So don't ask me why, but this area appears to be called Winton Circus, and it's a collection of 3 swimming pools by the look of it. We are still in Saltcoats, but we're down at the swimming pool, tidal baths. Don't think you could call it a Lido, which is like this. So we've got the restaurant we've just been to, which is attached to a cinema. Toy Story 5 today, and there are sort of 1, 2, and then this one. This is the official swimming pool. Look at the clarity of the water, and I guess, as I say, it's tidal. Looks like the tide's going out at the moment. Every tide it gets refreshed and it looks lovely. So the good lady, her indoors, is a wild swimmer. So anytime we see something like this, there is always a question of, can we fit a swim in? But I don't think it was the right time, and it certainly didn't seem deep enough to swim properly. I assume it's just for kids. And it quickly makes way for this rather lovely beach, which is apparently called Saltcoats Beach, so it's still very firmly regarded as Saltcoats. And it goes all the way into Ardrossan. That is Ardrossan that you can see there in the distance. And we got into Ardrossan and we had a bit of a look around, but really we weren't that enamoured with it. It was very much a port town. So we went back to the car and we headed up towards Largs. Now, genuinely, we couldn't believe it. We parked up in Largs and we came down to the beach and we knew exactly what we wanted to do. And then we were stopped in our tracks because the PS Waverley was pulling in. That's paddle steamer Waverley. And I've already released a video. Little did we know at this moment, in 2 days' time, we would take a trip on her for the afternoon. So frustratingly, I've lost all of the video from this part of the day, but we had our hearts set on an ice cream from Nardini's, a famous Art Deco ice cream parlour in Largs. Now, the food was lovely, the ice cream, but the service was appalling for some reason. It's most unusual, but we really didn't have a good experience, so we sloped off back to the Airbnb, ready for the next day. We're on the ferry to Bute. If I come over here, I'll show you around in a moment. There is Wimsby Station. So the line comes in over there and the foot passengers come down there. I'll stick a couple of photos on. I was going to video in there, but there were so many people. And then this side is a bit choppy. So it would appear on the boat I was going doolally. I was so dead set on pronouncing Wemyss correctly that I forgot how to say bay, so forgive me for that. But this is Wemyss Bay Station, and it's quite famous in these parts because it's such a beautiful building. The train line terminated for the ferry pretty much, and they built this rather lovely walkway straight down to the embarkation point. And it has become something of an attraction on its own. People get here early and come and have a look around. And to that end, how many train stations have their own timeline, have their own history board? And I thought I'd try and capture this. You can obviously freeze frame it if you want to read anything in particular. And if you're interested in the rather more mundane aspects of the station, it's got everything you would expect. I think it's got a bookshop. Kind of wouldn't expect that, but it's got a bookshop. It has a cafe cum coffee shop. The toilets were open and they were clean. I think they only really use one platform now. It's kind of one train in, one train out. And the car park was pay and display, but the day we got there, the parking meters, which were both right down near the entrance, it's a very long car park, and both meters were right down near the entrance to the station, but neither one was working, and there was a sign saying it was free to park, so I can't tell you how much it would be normally. It's a 35-minute crossing. We're going to Rothesay, which should be just over there, and that sounds like we're getting ready to leave. And one final thing, you can probably tell, it's 13 degrees, it has been raining, I'm in heaven. Having been in England for the last week where it was over 30 for however many days in a row, this is absolute heaven. It's brilliant. It's chilly. I've got a coat on. I've got a jumper on. Still June. Love it. Love Scotland. So I think I've heard people say this. I suspect I've said it before, but there is something thrilling about a Calmac ferry ride. And I can't tell you why. I really cannot tell you why. I don't know if it's because I'm in Scotland, which I love, and I'm going to an island because I'm on a ferry, but there is something magical about being on a Calmac ferry. So we reversed out of Wemyss Bay and we headed out into the Firth of Clyde. So the ferry did have plenty of seating inside. I think we were the only ones outside. Occasionally a smoker would come out and have a fag, but apart from that, we were the only ones outside. There is a coffee shop inside, but the crossing was so short we couldn't be bothered. Right, we headed off from the cafe and we're heading to what I believe is called St Michael's Chapel, and we're walking along here. Now, I will say from the cafe it was supposed to be about 4 miles, and we thought, not sure we want to walk 4 miles. So we drove, and there is a car park about halfway along the road, and you can tell where the car park is because the tarmac runs out and you end up on this, and there is a sign that says, whatever you think, do not drive along here, you won't be able to drive. This is very much a farmer's track. So it should be about 2 miles. It feels like a long way, I don't know why. We've been going about just under a mile, and we've got about just under a mile to go. So about 1.6, 1.8 miles. And I don't know why, but it feels like a long way. But it's a lovely walk. It's been green. Now, I keep going on about this when I'm in Scotland, but everything is so green. And Northamptonshire in June in 2026 is not. Lost the wife. I delight in green. Everything is green and wet and healthy and living. And then we're right by the firth of something. I'll see if I can figure out what it is and I'll put a name up. So that's the mainland over there. Here she comes. That'll be the mainland over there. One of the most remote parts. We were just trying to work out how long it would take to get over there. There's a little town over there. I'll put the name up, I'll figure out where that is, I haven't got a clue. But hopefully St Michael's, it's just started to rain, St Michael's Chapel will appear in a moment. We've made it to St Michael's Chapel. It was just shy of 2 miles actually. Google said about 1.4, but it was about 1.9 something, so 2 miles, and we've got 2 miles to go back. Pouring down. I'm stood underneath what looks like an oak tree. I'll show you some images in a moment. There it is. Oh, it's okay. We'll leave them alone. Is it worth it? That's a question, isn't it? Is it worth it? I think we've been walking for, well, quite a while, it feels. Felt like longer than two miles. I can tell you, he says, trying to keep the video interesting. 48 minutes it took for those 2 miles. Is it worth it? You'd have to really, really like what you see in these images. I don't think it is. Obviously, it was something to do, building up to lunch, but you can tell by how boring this is, how boring I thought it was. Would I come back? No. But there are some very pretty views over the firth, over to the mainland. I'm sure they'd be even more pretty if it wasn't pouring down. I don't know who it was, just said, I like it because it's cold and raining. Don't believe the hype. Anyway, we'll make our way back to the car. Okay, never done a house tour before, and the vocals on this video were appalling, so let's give it another go. Here's the kitchen. I think this is why my vocals were appalling. The video is inherently boring, but if you're interested, the kitchen had everything we could want. The bathroom seemed lovely, but anybody who's tried to take a shower with a shower curtain knows shower curtains are magnetic, and they're magnetically charged to be attracted to human bodies. The living room was nice, TV was okay, we had Sky, that's always good fun, and look at the views. Who cares about the TV? Look at the views. It was one of the quietest places we've ever stayed. And then we went through to the bedroom, and that's pretty much the entire place. Again, beautiful views out of the window and deathly quiet. Anyway, following day, Tuesday, we caught the PS Waverley paddle steamer from Rothesay, all of which is in another video. And I'll just ask you to take note of the bistro in front of us, as that will come up in a moment. And we disembarked for a couple of hours in Tarbert. And I wish we hadn't. And that isn't a reflection on Tarbert, but I wish we hadn't. I wish we'd stayed on the paddle steamer. But this is us heading up to Tarbert Castle. We had a last kind of chance gasp at some good times in Tarbert, and we thought we'll take a walk up to the castle, which is relatively accessible from the town centre. So prepare yourself for some very heavy breathing. In my defence, the hill to the castle was really steep. Now then, bit protracted, but I'll give you a rundown of the last hour. We pulled up in Tarbert on the paddle steamer, and I think we had just shy of 2 hours, and we thought, bags of time. And it's about a quarter of an hour into Tarbert, and we saw a cafe, and we went in, and we ordered, and we waited for half an hour. Absolutely nothing. So we, unfortunately, went off and complained, paid for our drinks, which we had had, and left. So we've been here the best part of an hour, and we've done nothing. So we are at the castle. we've basically got quarter of an hour. So we thought, can we get to the castle? There's a kind of a circular walk that goes off that way and back around. So we thought we'd give it a try. And we're timing ourselves. We've got 7 minutes. There's Tarbert down there. Such a shame. So there's not much to it either. But we've given ourselves 15 minutes, so we were kind of timing ourselves 7 minutes up here, 7 minutes to get down, and then we've got a 15-20 minute walk back to the ferry, the paddle steamer. That's because I was looking at that coming in now. And then we've got 2 hours on the paddle steamer back home, which will be lovely. We went to the co-op. And we bought ourselves a sandwich, so we've got a co-op sandwich to eat on the boat on the way back. And that'll be our afternoon. So it's a bit of a shame really. The paddle steamer has been fantastic. I'm sure Tarbert is lovely. But unfortunately, we chose the crappiest cafe in town. And we're starving. Now then, I'm not one for walking around public toilets with a camera doing videos, and I don't think I'll ever do it again, but this was different. This is Rothesay's Victorian toilets, and these are public toilets, would you believe it, in the entrance to the port. So if you're waiting in line for the Calmac ferry, or if you're lucky enough to be getting on the Waverley, these toilets are available to use like any public toilet. Now, I would guide you to littlescottishtreasures.com. There is a lot more information about them on there. What I just found fascinating, one of the things I was reading, was they were originally built for men only. Women in the 1900s were not expected to use public toilets, and they had to convert them later to include ladies. And once I'd finished filming inside the toilets, there's a phrase I never thought I'd say on YouTube, we headed home. And we thought we'd go out for a walk in the evening along the local beach. And that seems like a good point to end this video, so thank you so much for watching. The second half of our trip to Bute will be released as soon as I can, hopefully next week. As always, I really appreciate you watching. I really appreciate all the comments and the corrections to my pronunciations. Genuinely, thank you, and we'll see you soon.